Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of From No Crypto to No Crypto. I'm your host, the crypto coach, Blockchain Wayne. Today we're joined by Diane from BAM. Diane, tell us, what is BAM?
Well, actually, BAM stands for Blockchain Africa Movement, and the goal is to foster blockchain adoption in Africa. And I'm really glad to be with you, Wayne. Thanks for the invitation.
Absolutely, pleasure to have you on today. I drew a blank for there for a second. Right as I was about to say it, I forgot what BAM stood for. So thanks for clarifying that. You're doing some great things. I definitely want to cover what BAM is and what you all are doing there. But before we jump into that, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background? Maybe what led you to getting into this space?
Okay, so my name is Diane, and my background is actually business development and marketing. So I used to hate finance, to be honest with you, but I had an opportunity where I worked in a fintech. It was in Paris. I briefly heard about blockchain, but I wasn't interested in it. Then I continued my work in business development and marketing. And once someone told me, "Hey, I have a token that I will launch. Would you like to buy it?" I was like, maybe this is my chance to become a millionaire. So I bought the token. I waited until I would become a millionaire, but unfortunately, this isn't what happened. I lost my money. It was a meme coin. But when I think about it twice, I think that it was a good lesson that led me to discover what blockchain was. And then after that, I fell in love with the ecosystem and I decided to go all in.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of us get in that way. We come in with these dreams of riches, and while it's definitely possible, you really understand the movement, the power of this technology, and I think a lot of us get stuck there. And yeah, that's definitely a great intro. You and I actually met. We were both trying to head to an event in Dubai, and we got stuck in the airport in Doha, Qatar. And so
Yeah.
it wasn't really. It was very frustrating at the time, but we were able to connect and we're working with you to do some things as well at FIO. And then there was actually quite a few people in that airport that I've connected with and actually have done business with, just because we were stuck there. So it turned a bad situation into, turn some positives from a bad situation.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember that when I was stuck at Qatar, I was frustrated because I was like, I'm losing some events in Dubai. I paid the rent in Dubai. I'm not there. But finally, we made some really good connection as with you. So it was a good thing that happened when we think about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about what you're doing with BAM. Tell everybody what you've done so far and kind of what your plans are for BAM.
Yeah, I think one thing to start with would be how BAM came to life. Because as the good thing with blockchain is that we can travel all over the world as everything happens online. And I like to discover different countries. So I am initially based in France, but this year I wanted to discover Africa. So I started this journey in Tanzania. And whenever I go to a new country, I try to find where are the crypto events happening. And the first place I go to find the event is Eventbrite. So I saw there was an event happening at the FinTech Hub. I went there and I was surprised because it seemed like the event was canceled. So as I was speaking with the people working there, what's happening, where is the event? They didn't know that there was an event and they didn't even know about the blockchain. So I was like, wait, how come there's an event organized at your place and you don't know what's the blockchain? And what surprised me is that they were willing to learn more because one of the guy I spoke to, he told me, well, why don't you organize an event there? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? But I didn't think at this time it would be possible because sometimes people they when they hear about blockchain, they like it, but after they forget because everybody has their life. But after that, we exchanged the numbers. When I came home, I sent him some content about Bitcoin because I think that Bitcoin is the best way to discover the blockchain. And I told him, yes, if you want to do an event, let's do it. But I didn't think he would reply me. But 2 days later, he came back to me. He told me, thanks for the information. I learned about the Bitcoin. He was a developer and he told me I started learning Solidity and I also secured the venue for the event. Let's do this. And I was like, whoa. So he was really motivated and that inspired me because one of the beautiful things is that when you learn the power of the blockchain, you get even more rewards when you can teach people how to use it and when you can share the opportunities it can bring to the people. And that's where we started to work on the first event. And after that, I really like this experience. I also saw that the audience liked it. We decided to do it again. And I was like, I need to find a concept for this thing, and that's where BAM came for Blockchain African Movement.
That's awesome. I've always said that education is really the key to driving people into this space and having them really understand it, because there's a lot of misinformation. Even people that may have think they've heard about blockchain, depending on where they get their information from, they probably have a misunderstanding about it. And it's so powerful. And I was in Nashville at the Bitcoin conference about a little over a week ago, and there was actually quite a bit of talk of some of the work that's being done in Africa with blockchain and Bitcoin and crypto. Anywhere from mining, like them having mining farms is allowing them to provide
Mm,
power to towns that couldn't have power before. Because when you
mm,
think about it, if you create infrastructure for power and you have a village where not many, they may use electricity during the day, but at night nobody's using it. But that power grid needs to run 24/7. So by having Bitcoin miners there, they're able to buy the power when the town is not using it, and that keeps the power grid running, and it lowers the cost of those villagers.
mm,
So that's one thing. Another thing I heard was there's this one guy that created a device. It looks like one of the old phones with the keyboard that was on the bottom of it, but it's for areas where they don't have internet, to where they can still do crypto transactions even when there's no internet signal. It uses SMS text messaging
mm,
to send and receive transactions. So that allows anybody, even the whole thing, or what are you going to do if you don't have internet? Well, that's a
mm.
perfect solution. So there's a lot of things happening there. So it's exciting to see that you're working to drive education throughout Africa, when it comes to cryptocurrency and blockchain. So what are some of the upcoming plans for BAM in terms of events?
So right now we are in Cameroon, and it will be a challenge because Cameroon is a bilingual country. So we did some event in Tanzania, which is an English-speaking country. We went to Côte d'Ivoire, which is a French-speaking country. But Cameroon is bilingual, so we'll have the event in two languages. It will be a great challenge to tackle. But on what you just said regarding Bitcoin mining, it's really true. And I was also surprised to see that even in Cameroon, there are some people who are doing Bitcoin mining. And I didn't know that, what you just said, I didn't know. And I was like, it's incredible because when we think about it, I think that Africa maybe is one, if not the region where blockchain could have the best utility and could save maybe the life of most of the people and give them new ways to maybe make money or other things like this.
Yeah. And what I heard from a talk that was very powerful is a lot of places that may not have electricity or have reliable
Mm,
electricity. Adding Bitcoin mining allows those electrical companies to strengthen the grid, which provides more reliable electricity. And we all know, like, you think about it, having electricity is kind of the key, the beginning to being able to prosper and be free, right?
mm,
Because if you don't have access to power, you're really limited to what's around you. So this opens up the world to people. It opens up finance to people. People that may have an idea to start a business will now be able to, because they have
mm,
the means to it. And then I think from there, the next phase is just really strengthening the once you strengthen the power grid, then you can strengthen the availability of internet. Now, obviously, Elon Musk
mm.
is things like Starlink are making that possible, even without having to run any infrastructure. But I think that's kind of the beginning of what's going to happen. And so that's before, a lot of places would only have power in certain areas there if there was some humanitarian effort where a lot of people just donated
Mm,
money to do that. So you were relying on people's goodwill and donation.
mm,
And now with cryptocurrency and cryptocurrency mining, you can basically have these power companies not relying on donations, but actually have companies that are paying for the electricity. Then the people benefit from it.
And to make it even more popular, education is key because, as you said, and I think it's even really true in Africa, is that when people hear about crypto, they think about scams or they think about get rich quick schemes. So they have a lot of bad ideas on the crypto. That's why we need to find an approach where they understand the true value that crypto has, and they also understand that when we talk about blockchain, crypto is just one application of the blockchain, but with the blockchain, we can do a lot of things like Bitcoin mining, you said, and also the solutions that can allow people to transfer some crypto without the use of internet can be really beneficial. Because another thing also that inspired me in the blockchain industry is the financial inclusion. Because with the blockchain, anyone who has a smartphone, a simple smartphone, can start having some tokens and maybe grow their financial wealth. And if they can even do it without the access to internet, it's even more powerful, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's definitely you know, so many people, and I get this where I'm in the US, right? A lot of people that don't really understand Bitcoin or cryptocurrency or blockchain are like, why do we even need that? You know, we have a system that works fine. And there, you know, there's definitely cracks in our system where inflation and government money
Mm-hmm.
causes problems, but they're not as blatantly obvious as like the problems of most people around the world, many people around the world that don't have access to any banking. So
Mm-hmm.
it's important
Exactly.
to offer that. And so you know, because there, I mean, we can go through the different country, like throughout all the countries within the African continent. Throughout India, there's millions of people that don't have banking.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout Asia, there's millions and millions of people that don't have access to banking. But you're right, like you mentioned earlier, right? A simple smartphone, a basic smartphone can allow anybody to connect, transact, basically have their own bank in their pocket to where they don't
Mm-hmm.
rely on a bank. They can transact, they can participate in an economy that they were potentially excluded from before or limited
Mm-hmm.
to cash payments, which cash payments pretty much limit you to what's right in front of you, right?
Yeah, and and the powerful thing with the blockchain is that you can make cross-border payments at low cost. And I realized something that even surprised me when I was in Ivory Coast, Côte d'Ivoire. I was speaking with my uncle, and he told me that because he's from Cameroon, but he lives in Côte d'Ivoire, and he told me that sometimes when he wants to transfer some money from his Ivorian bank account to his Cameroonian bank account, he's paying very very high. And I was surprised that even the fees between African countries were high. And he told me that when I use crypto is almost free. That's why I prefer using crypto than the traditional system.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people don't realize that you have the companies that whether it's banks or other transfer companies like MoneyGram or Western Union, like they charge large fees to
Mm,
transfer.
mm,
But then on top of that, you're also losing money because they also um the exchange rates from one currency to another, they actually have like a hedge within there to where they make a profit off of that too. So there's fees you
mm.
and there's fees that are hidden to where the exchange rate, for instance, maybe 1.5, but they charge him like 1.6, right?
Exactly.
They're
Mm.
just diluting it even more. And yeah, cryptocurrency you can send is borderless. So from one end of the world to the other. In fact, right before we started this call, right, you were setting up some FIO stuff, and I sent you some.
Yeah.
Got it like that, right? We didn't have to go through a bank, wait business
Mm,
days. I sent it, and you got it right away. So that's just another. You know, we take it for granted. We've been using it for a little while, right? But
mm.
you didn't even think about it when we did it, but that's exactly what happened, right? We were able to send it right away. No relying on any bank account or anything else to approve it. It just went through.
And that's the beauty of it. That's really the beauty of it. And even when people ask me, but your crypto is just virtual money, what's the real use of it? And I always talk about the use case of payments. And I even take my example because while I'm French, so I have a French bank account. But if I want to withdraw money here, the fees are also really high. And what I tell them is that I'd rather do some crypto to fiat money than to withdraw money from my bank account. And sometimes you will use an ATM, they won't accept your credit card. You don't know why, because it's dependent on the central authority. And while the blockchain is decentralized, when you know you have money, no entity will block you to do what you want to do with your money.
Absolutely. You're definitely right. I experienced that recently. I use a Coinbase card sometimes when I travel. Coinbase allows you to trade your crypto. I'm in the US, so I have a Coinbase card and I have crypto in there. Whenever I swipe the card, it spends it. But even that's a centralized service I'm relying on, similar to,
Mm,
right? But they're holding my crypto.
mm,
And I remember this because a year ago I was in Istanbul, Turkey, and I couldn't use my card in that region. and I'm actually heading back there tomorrow. And I was just thinking about that. I was like, yeah, I've got to remember to, to make sure one, I get some cash out, but then two, that I've got some crypto in a hot wallet because they do have quite a few places there that accept Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies as well because they're, further along with adoption. So even in the cryptocurrency space, centralized exchanges and centralized entities, they still block you or stop you from having
Yeah.
money in different places.
Mm,
Whereas Bitcoin and other cryptos, they don't really
mm,
discriminate. They don't care where you are in
mm.
the world. It's just truly
Yeah.
really peer to peer. So, and that's the beauty of it. I mean, that's what most of us just want is freedom to be able to spend our money, and having access to finance really gives people an additional level of freedom, right? Because like I mentioned before, there's so many different things you can do with that. You can
Mm,
start a business that you may not have been able to do before because you didn't have access to any kind of funding or finance or money. You can connect with others in the world.
yeah. And that's what I discovered with blockchain. Blockchain to me equals freedom. It's censorship resistant. When you own your private keys, you own your coin, you can do whatever you want to do. And this is the best key to freedom. And also, we all know that this space is evolving and there are still some barriers to entry because me, I really love this ecosystem and I want everyone around me to be in the blockchain industry. And I tried to tell my mother, but yeah, look, create your account. But she was like, but I don't understand. I have a known address. I don't understand it. I need to set my private keys. So we still have some blockers to blockchain adoption,
Yeah.
I would say. But for instance, when I see some apps like Fuel, I think it simplifies everything because sometimes I try to do some transaction with my mom, but she's always afraid that she will misspell the address or something like this. But if she would have a really simple handle, it will make things easier, for instance. And I think that's where we need to go, and that's what we need to work on. We know the potential of it, but if we want it to be adopted massively, the onboarding should be really easy.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's something that we work on when it comes to the sending and receiving. And you talk about your mother, but even myself, I've been in this
Mm,
space a while. If I'm not using a FIO handle and I'm having to copy and paste those long wallet addresses, I'm always paranoid that I'm going to get it wrong and I'm going to send it to the wrong address. So but we realize that's kind of a barrier because we'll do it because we at least have a little confidence. We have confidence in what we're doing, but somebody that's scared, they just won't set it up. So
mm,
whether it's and it's not just, I mean, we solve one problem. Another one of the problems is just being able to set up a wallet can be complicated for some people.
yeah.
Simplifying
Mm,
that process, and I don't know if we've talked about it before, but Edge Wallet is one of our partners, and that's the one I always use to onboard new people to cryptocurrency. One, it has all of the FIO features built into it, but two, it's very simple to set up. It uses a different way to secure your private key, but to where you don't have to stop and write down a seed phrase somewhere, right? If you have somebody set up a different kind of wallet, halfway through the setup, they got to stop and write down a seed phrase. And this allows you to set up a password, a PIN, a recovery key, and then you need some of that. At least, you don't have to have everything, but multiple pieces of that to be able to restore the key on another wallet instead of having to write down those 12 words somewhere that we call a seed phrase, and then you have to restore it later. So those are the types of things that I love to look for because, like you, I'm very passionate about education. So,
mm.
what have you seen since? And I know you've done the Tanzania BAM event, and you're planning for Cameroon. But what has the reception been like? Like, what have you been hearing from people as you hold these events and talk to people about cryptocurrency and blockchain and educating them?
Well, I was really glad because at first they were really reluctant. They didn't want to learn more about the crypto. But when they discovered that crypto is just a part of blockchain, it's as if they were open to a new world with endless possibilities. And I mostly saw this when we were doing the hackathon, because the hackathon is one of the big parts of our event. And the challenge we want to take is to teach some people, developers or non-developers, how to implement the blockchain in a project to solve a real life problem. So while the developers, they will focus on, for instance, learning solidities, the non-developers will focus on the business model blockchain can bring and the solutions it can bring. And what I saw is that after the event, they were like, oh, thank you, now I better understand the blockchain. And sometimes I think that the best way to learn is to do. So you can maybe hear a 10 hours conference on the blockchain, and after that, not knowing a clue of what it is. But if we tell them that, look, use the blockchain to solve a real problem, your mind will think differently. And even if it's just half an hour, for instance, workshop, or even 2 days, after that, as you would think about how the blockchain can solve a real problem, you would have a better understanding of it. And this is, I think, the best reward I got when I see that people tell me now I better understand it. And I think the most beautiful reward is when people say, like, now I also want to be a part of this ecosystem. Because what we want to do is we show the door, but we cannot force people to take the door or not. But when we see that some do, it's the best reward. And that's what we saw in the event we were doing. And people are also asking for more events. So we have even more pressure now. We are also thinking about the other session of events we will do in 2025.
Nice, nice. Yeah, and that's good to hear. I mean, I definitely agree. I mean, I have that same perspective of knowledge that you do, right? You don't really know how to do it until you do it. You can,
Mm,
like,
mm,
listening to a lecture. I used to always, I would use an analogy. I would tell people, like, not related to crypto, but I would say, okay, if I read a book on how to fix my vehicle, and I know how to fix
mm.
my vehicle, no, I don't really know until I do it, right? And so it's the same thing here. Until you actually get in there and do it, and that's the best thing to do is set someone up with a wallet, have them set up a wallet, have them send and receive a little bit of cryptocurrency, get used to that process. Then they understand it. And that's just the first part, right? And then, right, hackathons, teaching them how to build ideas and come up with different concepts. I think there's so many different things that this technology can solve and evolve to, and getting some bright minds that probably never would have even considered that
Mm.
they may one day come up with some amazing solutions. So it's going to be interesting to follow your journey and to be able to look back one day and say, okay, you helped these people, but this is out of those people that you taught and joined the movement. These are the ones that these people actually did something and built something, or they changed the world in one way or another because they created something that was sparked
Yeah.
by learning in one of your events.
This is my dream. I would love to see one of the hackathon project going further and maybe turn into a real blockchain project. That's why when in the prize pool, we also try to include an opportunity to be incubated so we can follow the project and help the project grow if we see that the team is really serious. So the goal of this concept in Africa is also to bring opportunities and to show the people that even if maybe you live in a country that is less developed than others, you can still have the same opportunities as others, as long as you have the ideas, the willingness to work, and the ambition.
Absolutely. It can really set them apart because I mean some of the countries that people may be in, the cost of living may be less. So if they're able to
Mm.
earn money from a job in this sector, then they could actually like prosper and do much better because the cost of living isn't as much. So
And that's what I tell everyone I speak to, especially the developers. I tell them, look, there's no barrier to entry in blockchain. It's a new industry. So there's no people who has 30 years of experience. So right now you can lock yourself in your room, watch tons of videos for free on YouTube, how to code, how to build some app in Solidity. You can develop your GitHub. And after, even from Africa, you can try to find clients in the US.
yeah, absolutely. And look, and they can even get some assistance with that coding. Like, not saying it'll do it for them, but they can leverage AI now. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Mm,
logging on
mm,
the free version of ChatGPT and being able to check code or help you with maybe a coding problem you have. I've seen.
the opportunities are endless, but we just need to put the spark in the mind of these people
Yeah,
so they know the opportunities they have.
absolutely. You know, one idea I had while you were talking there about the hackathons and incubating the winners was if you could maybe at one point pick so maybe the best group after you've done several events of the hackathons, and let's get a sponsor to send them to a larger event that has a huge prize pool for, for a hackathon. So they basically could win basically like a regional, throughout the places in
Mm,
Africa. And then we can send them to a larger event like a Token 2049 hackathon that's going to,
yeah.
pay a lot more and give them the opportunity to at least participate and potentially win a larger prize.
And actually, this is my dream. I know that in Africa, they really like football, and there's the big AFCON, the competition of football in Africa. And my dream was to do the same, but for blockchain. So go to all the African countries, do a hackathon, and after doing a bigger event with even bigger sponsors in Africa, where all the hackathon winners will need to build another project, and the best ones will win the bigger prize.
That's nice. That's nice. Yeah, definitely. I can tell you, that's the key. What you're doing is so important. And I've been down a similar journey. Now, we're in different areas. I took a different path, but I've always been passionate about education because education is truly the key to adoption. And every other thing that's come along in the past, we've had something to compare it to. And when you think about cryptocurrency and blockchain, most people just compare it to money. And it's so
Mhm.
different than that, right? Because you're right, currency is
Mhm.
just one application on the blockchain. I think you said something similar to that earlier. There's so much potential.
Exactly.
We're not gonna tap into that potential unless we educate people. And so
Mhm.
sometimes it's not as it's sometimes it can be a thankless job. Sometimes you get those rewards from people that are like the light bulb comes on, they understand it, they want to join the movement. But it's definitely important what you're doing because that's always been my perspective was there's two barriers to adoption, and it's just two. It's education, proper education where people understand it, and then processes and protocols that make it easier to use.
Yeah.
Just
Mhm.
kind of, and I was saying that long before I joined FIO. So it just so happened, like when I came across the FIO team, actually it was at an event I held almost 4 years ago. That I was like, that's a great idea. That's something that we need more of. And so I
Mhm.
started helping out the team, and that's how I ended up eventually working with them on a part-time basis, and then full-time was because I was so passionate about those two things: education and simplifying the process.
Mhm. No, I totally agree with you. And also another thing I stress on when I am in this event is that right now we are still very, very early. And when I see the industry of the blockchain, I see it's as if we were in the internet revolution in the 1980s. At that time, nobody would have known that internet will be what it is like this. Some people wanted to ban internet. Some people said that it was useless, but now we can't live without it. And I think that the same thing will happen with the blockchain. So it's best to be around the first, then to ignore it and cry later.
Absolutely. And you're right. I mean, those technology cycles, the internet was around long before people realized it was there and started using it, right? When did they start using it? When they started to understand it a little more and it got easier.
Mm,
Even AI. I mean, AI has been around for many years.
yeah.
It just
Mm,
burst on the scene a year ago, 2 years ago. It's been around for a long time, but it finally got to a model where it was easy for users to use,
mhm,
and that's why we're seeing the boom. And it's the same thing. I mean, even Bitcoin is, which is the oldest cryptocurrency, 15 years old. That's still in its infancy, right? So there's still a lot
exactly.
that's going to happen, a lot that's going to be built. So
Mm.
it's definitely been a pleasure having you on today. I wish we had more time. I usually try to keep the podcast fairly sharp, but I want people to follow you and find out what you're doing. So can you tell everybody, and I'll also have it in the comments where they in the description of where they can link to, but tell everybody where they can find you across social medias and maybe even a website to follow you on.
Yeah, so personally, you can find me on Twitter, it's Diane Almaze. I have also a YouTube channel, but in French, it's Crypto Almaz. And you can follow BAM on all the social media, is either BAM Blockchain African Movement or John Bam XYZ. And I will send you all the links so you can put them in the description. And thanks again, Wayne, for this invitation. It was a pleasure for me to be able to speak with you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Diane. It's been a pleasure working with you. If people aren't aware, I mean, we're collaborating to help you with those events, and
Mm.
we hope as they grow, we're able to grow our assistance with it. And then at the same time, I'd love to get down there and be able to attend one in person in the near future as well.
I hope too. We will see you in person. Thanks again.
Thanks again, Diane. Thanks everybody for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode. Take care, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.